Gotta go by the screen.
Hey YouTube, this is Gunner. It is now 3:50 a.m. in the morning. Holy crap! I mean, usually I'm asleep at this time, but since my friend Parker is staying the night tonight, I'm guessing this is like my only exception. So, anyways. If you've seen the video, Three Guys One Hammer Reaction Part 2, I said that I'll told you to look out for the fanfic readings of Feels Like the First Time and Attire. Well, I'm gonna do Attire first, and yeah. Feels like, yeah, and I'll say this to Lookman3731. I'd like to thank you for giving me my first story request for Feels Like the First Time. I read the prologue and it's actually very promising. So after this, I'll start reading up on the prologue and chapter 1. But first, I'm gonna do Attire. Alright, Attire by Maple Sunset. I'll read the description right here. Scootaloo has been having problems during class with the latest chapter in mathematics, and you propose that she stay after class for extra exercises. However, she feels uncomfortable due to the new school attire and every student is supposed to wear. And that's where your problems start. Second person human Scootaloo clopfic. I had the sudden inspiration to write this after a certain dream. Rest assured, Maple Sunset, the clopfic author is not dead. Just a bit tangled now. We'll finish up on archery before moving on to another fic after the holidays. Sorry for the long wait. Yeah. Oh yeah, archery. That's actually another good story too. All right. I will warn you. This will involve this is a Foalcon. So if you know what it is, then you know. Yeah, you'll know what I mean. So. Right.
It's dirty.
Well, it is gonna be dirty. All right, Attire by Maple Sunset. After class, Scootaloo. That's what the chapter's called. Alright then. It has been some time since you have started working at Ponyville Elementary. You had sought a job as a teacher several months back when you had moved there from Manhattan. How you got to Manhattan in the first place was still a mystery to you. Reading the newspaper in your study one night, you regretted checking out the noise outside your window. You stepped outside your house and strode over to the bush that seems to have something rustling in it. The last thing you expected was for something bright to leap out of the bush and knock you out. Or so you thought. You weren't really sure what happened to you that night, considering how bright lights don't really jump out of bushes like that, no matter how much logic you try to put into that situation. You sat at your teacher's desk, sighing as you realized that had happened many months ago. You weren't sure whether the bright light incident was a good thing either, considering how you were in shock the first 2 weeks you were in Equestria. Luckily for you, the natives were kind enough to offer a home for you. Some of the ponies in Manhattan had apparently seen the potential in you, considering you had fingers. Yeah, go fingers. You were given a job as secretary at a local newspaper firm. You thought it was weird how ponies had typewriters even though their hooves couldn't type on the small buttons. The company's explanation is that the last secretary, a unicorn, had no trouble typing considering how he could use magic to type. He had wanted to ask why they didn't make typewriters with keyboards big enough for the hooves of earth ponies or Pegasi. But then you realized how big such a keyboard would be should they be able to do so. I can actually imagine what a typewriter would look like if it was used for earth ponies or Pegasi. Okay. Getting paid about 400 bits a month, you are happy that you didn't have to worry about accommodation. You weren't really sure the value of bits in Equestria, but you decided to save up as much as you could. Life in a city like Manhattan is rather hectic considering how many ponies resided there. Your friend, a mare with the coat of Charisse and a mane of light grayish rose and Charisse's gray, looked over from her desk at you. Her name was Cheerlee, and she had welcomed you to the school when you arrived those many months ago. "You all right here?" she asked. You broke out of your reverie and turned to her. You nodded. "I'm fine. I just miss life back where I wasn't here yet. Not saying that I'm not happy here, it's okay, just take it easy." She smiled at you, to which you shrugged. She went back to doing whatever the hell she was, which you think was grading papers. You went back to your flashback of what's happened in the past few months. You had moved out of Manhattan when your friend, a colt with a dark brown coat and light gray mane, and suggested that you move to Ponyville, where things are a little more peaceful and compared to your job of Manhattan. You thanked them and wrote your resignation letter that night. After another few days of thinking, you finally sent the letter to your boss. You explained to him your intentions, and you seemed to be perfectly fine with your journey for peace. Yeah. Now you lived in a single-story house on the outskirts of town. The moment you had finished packing, you leaped, finally noticing a pink creature that had been outside your window the moment you entered the house. Oh crap, it's Pinkie Pie. She had said something about throwing one of the biggest parties Ponyville has ever seen since you were, quote, a creature that I had never had ever seen before, unquote. You had reassured her that the party was not necessary, but she insisted. Well, dude, you're gonna get a party one way or another if you ever come to Ponyville. The ponies had looked at you weirdly at the party, but they seemed to have concluded that you were a relatively harmless creature and enjoyed the party. There were a greater mix of colors at the party than those huge crowds you used to see during the elections. Apparently, there were a few important figures in the little town, which included 6 ponies that are apparent peacekeepers of Equestria, or the Elements of Harmony, as they were called. All in all, it wasn't that bad here in Ponyville. You appreciated the peace that the town offered, and you enjoyed that it wasn't peaceful to the point where everything the town offered was boring. Everything was rather average. You had acquainted with quite a few of the population, and they seemed to enjoy your being around them. You shake your head, knocking yourself out of your reverie. You get off your comfortable chair and strode over to the coffee maker at one side of the office. You could have just rolled your chair over to the machine, but you didn't think that it was necessary. You took your mug from the rack next to the machine and set it in place before turning the machine on. You thought over what class you were supposed to be teaching next. The schedule was on your desk, but you didn't want to leave the machine yet. You snickered at your own lazy ass and continued waiting for the machine to finish up on your coffee. A beep from the machine notified that the brewing was complete, and you take your mug and retreat to your desk. The schedule was underneath a couple of textbooks, which you moved out of the way. The next class to be taught was for Alabaster, in which the subject you were teaching would be mathematics. You sighed. There are always a few students who had trouble with mathematics. Maybe it was a new chapter you were teaching. I remember all the times that I've had troubles in math. I mean, I am no math whiz whatsoever. I mean, I even had a special ed class. I mean, like a special math class back when I was in high school.
Yeah, mathematics can be fun every now and then, but it all depends on what it's gonna be used for.
Yeah. The farthest in math I went up to is algebra 1. So.
I didn't get past adding and subtracting. I passed high school.
Yeah. Hey, give one up to the autistic kid who graduated. Yay!
With a regular ed diploma. So close to an advanced. So close.
Yeah, and it took you like what, 3 years to graduate?
It took me 2 extra years on top of the 4 that I was already there.
Yeah, since he's autistic, he
Took advantage of the system, and I pretty much transferred from school to school to school to school, and my transcripts got screwed over many times.
Yeah. Well, alright, back to the story. Alright. We really weren't sure what the problem was with the new chapter, but the students who had problems really weren't picking up really well. Adding to the fact that the school had just introduced school attire for the students, you weren't really surprised if some of the students couldn't pick up. Ponies are used to being naked, so why had the school introduced school clothes for the fillies? It really wasn't necessary. The students were probably still not used to the clothing on while learning. Students had only started wearing them today, which is the start of the week. It wasn't fair because the teachers get to stay naked, you being the only exception, of course. I don't see the point in school uniforms. I honestly don't.
Well, it takes the, popularity aspect, a lot of it out of school. That's from my point of view.
Well, honest.
Because with like all the preppies and the skater junkies, whatever, they have their own style. But when you
totally
make it uniform, it takes all that personality that you put into your outfits or don't put into your outfits.
Yeah, there should be like a few students who like dress up in whatever the hell they want, like dress up in a Hollister shirt and wear like very ripped up jeans, or you wear a Nirvana t-shirt and you have like very clean cut pants, or you have like Justin Bieber styled hair or whatever.
By the way, that's another thing. I believe Justin Bieber is a no talent hack who got freaking lucky.
Same
If
here.
you have any comments on that, please leave it. Leave us a comment, because I actually want to know what you guys think on that.
Alright, back
to the story.
You decide to take a sip of your coffee, creamy but not too sweet, just the way you like it. You glance at your watch, noting that it's about 5 minutes before you're due in for Alabaster. You sip more of your coffee and decide to wait out the 5 minutes. Soon enough, your coffee finished, and there's another 2 minutes left before you are due. You leave your mug on the desk and pick up a textbook and a reference book. You think over what else you need and decide to bring some chalk. There was no guarantee that there would be chalk left in the class, considering how some students just pick it up and throw it at each other. And
I can actually see that happening in middle school.
And that's why I only use markers. Then you can sniff them.
Not in this story.
Yeah. You disembark. You leave the teacher's office waving a goodbye to Cheer Lee as you made your way to the class. This would be the last class for today, and school would be out for the weekend. It was a cloudy Saturday afternoon, and you were looking forward to the whole weekend of silence. Wait, school is on Saturday? Hell no! Oh hell no! The classes you teach weren't really that noisy compared to the classes you used to teach back on Earth, but the noise isn't something one would be too fond of. The corridor was spotless, and you smile, knowing that the school workers are doing a good job keeping the school clean. You nod at a cult with a cream coat and red mane who was emptying a trash bin. He nods back and smiles. You arrive outside a classroom and peek in through one of the windows. The class was like a war zone. Several downed ponies were asleep at their desk. Snips and Snails were fighting with rulers. The Cutie Mark Crusaders, a trio that comprised of Apple Bloom, Sweetie Belle, and Scootaloo, had fused 3 tables together and were chatting out loud. And Silver Spoon was reading a magazine with Diamond Tiara. You glanced at the blackboard, which had drawings of what you believed was Nightmare Moon making out with a potato.
That's funny.
You chuckle before you decide it's time to enter. Alrighty.
Well, that potato also could have been Mario's nose. A character from the video game, by the way.
Yeah, everybody knows who Mario is. Are you kidding? You stick your head in through the doorway and stare at every pony. Of course, every pony, everybody, waiting for one of them to notice you and tell the others to quiet down. You like doing this. The students would never expect you to appear so suddenly, and to add to the scare factor, they weren't really that acquainted with humans, considering how they never mingled with fillies. After about half a minute, one of the students pointed out your presence. You chuckle as you watch your students scramble back to their desk. Those who were sitting next to the sleeping fillies woke them up in their slumber as you slowly walk into class. A smug grin spread across your face as you watch every pony finally settle down. You sat down at your desk and raised your hands up to support your chin as you watched over your class. Every pony seemed to be shifting nervously in their seats as your eyes scoured the class. Finally, you nod to the class monitor, Featherweight. He nods back and stands up. "Stand up, class," he orders. The class stands up. One student nearly knocks over her chair in doing so, but quickly regained her composure before standing straight. Yeah, we should say this one together. Good afternoon, teacher, the class chanted. You smile and nod at your class. "Good afternoon, class. You may sit down." The students sit down, and some of them start taking their books out of their saddlebags at the side of the tables. You flip open your textbook and quickly sift through to the chapter you were teaching. "Okay, class, open your textbooks to page 93. Squares, square roots, cubes, and cube roots."
Cube roots?
I don't know. It's freaking.
I've heard of square roots and all that. Square roots and the third power and so on and so forth. But cubes and cube roots.
I have no.
What the hell are those?
I'm guessing like the school system in Equestria are like more advanced than ours.
Most likely.
I mean, just look at like the main 6 are like possibly in their late teens, early 20s, and like how.
Yeah, you're right on that.
Yeah.
Those animals do age faster than we do. Except for sea turtles.
I like turtles.
I like chickens.
A chorus of textbooks opening followed by the sound of pages flipping greets your eyes. You watch every student closely. Some of them weren't wearing the school attire properly. The uniform was a white collar shirt with a white collar shirt with a collar. Which color is blue for colts and pink for fillies. A red ribbon that is tied around the collar like a tie, and short blue pants for colts, and a skirt, which color may vary for the fillies. Several of the students had the red ribbon on their desk. You had no idea what the students would undo the red ribbon in the first place, considering how it wasn't really that hot. It was still cloudy outside anyway.
My guess is it's because they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You're not used to the attire.
Yeah, I think I would, if I ever had a school uniform, I think I would rather I think I would rather go in front of this school, take them all off. I don't care if I'm buck naked. Take a can of gas, light it up, and piss on the ashes.
That sounds like you.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd rather use rubbing alcohol. It's more flammable than gasoline.
All right. You pull a chalk out from your pocket and stand up from your chair, and proceed to head over to the blackboard in front. Grinning, you look at the drawing at the blackboard. Cute drawing. You turned your head around and continued grinning at the class, grabbing the duster and wipe it across the blackboard, erasing the drawing from the face of Equestria. And into Chalk World!
Not in the story.
Yeah, I know. I'm just referencing old Nickelodeon shows. You could hear a groan from the back of the class before it died down. Oh man. I wonder if they're ever gonna get married. Scrawling the words squares and square roots on the blackboard, you think over the question to ask several of your students. You turn around to scan the class for any students who may not be paying attention to your teaching. You glance at Snips. Snips? The young colt stood up, evidently nervous. You give him a reassuring smile and ask him a question. What is the difference between square of a number and the square root of a number? At the end of your sentence, the young colt's nervousness had all but evaporated away, and he answered with confidence. The product of the number when multiplied by itself is a square, while a square root is a positive number which, when multiplied by itself, equals the given positive number. You smile and nod. Good job, Snips. It's good to see that some ponies been paying attention in class. A few students giggle. The menacing giggles coming from Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon. Total cunts. You turn again to the blackboard and write out several questions on the blackboard. Alright, class, give these questions a try and see if you can find the answer. I'll make my rounds and see if there's any trouble. The synchronized sound of pencils scratching on paper could be heard as you walked around the class. You wondered how it was possible for Earth ponies and Pegasi to hold pencils in their hooves the way they do. The unicorns relied more on their magic than their hooves, so you weren't really going to ask yourself about that. Hold on. I thought they used their mouths to write on paper. I mean, I remember Apple Bloom using her mouth to write with a pencil.
Well, different horses have different things that they can do.
And also, like how ponies can be able to hold pencils with their hooves is beyond me.
My guess would be a specialized pencil glove that they put on their hoof.
Either that or it's magic. Anyways, I'm not gonna question the logic of candy-colored ponies. Alright. So
funny. I wonder if they taste like candy too.
No comment. As you made your rounds, you smile as you watch your students answer every question correctly, save for a few who had a few mistakes in their calculations, in which you pointed out the error and they quickly correct the mistake. One of the students who was having troubles with the questions was a member of the Cutie Mark Crusaders, Scootaloo. She was one of the students who had the red ribbon laid on their desk. Scootaloo had answered the first couple of questions correctly, but the remaining questions seemed to be a little too hard for her. You lower your head next to her to see if as she continues staring at her paper, as if hoping that the answer would just pop up. She didn't even notice your presence next to her until you gave her a poke to the cheek. She yelped and almost fell out of her chair. You chuckle as she glared at you. What was that for? You grin. You seem to be concentrating hard there, though you'd find the answer soon, but it seems not. What seems to be the problem here? You glance at her paper. Scootaloo stopped her glaring and pointed out to the questions. I only have a little problem with the squares of the number, but I'm completely lost when it comes to square roots. She laid her chin on the desk as if giving up on the questions.
Notice they have not gone into the squared cubes or whatever and the cubes?
I guess that's later. That's later in the story. Don't tell me these questions are too hard now, Scootaloo. Just call me Scoots. You don't have to be so formal, she frowned. You chuckle. Okay then, Scoots. Listen, you're going to have to
Scooch.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I couldn't resist.
Listen, you're going to have to master these kind of questions before we all can move on to the cubes and numbers and cuberts, which I can guarantee are not as easy as the questions I'm giving you all right now. Scootaloo said nothing for a brief moment, her chin still on her desk. I'll check on you in a little bit, you say before checking on the last few students in class. The other two members of the Cutie Mark Crusaders, Applebloom and Scootaloo, seem to be doing a better job than Scootaloo, but he's decided to keep a closer eye on them considering how they were part of the students with probably math. Snips and Snails were doing an exceptional job having completed them in your estimate 7 minutes compared to the other chapters you had taught in class. They were currently talking to each other. Hold on. I thought Snips and Snails were kind of slow. I mean, especially Snails.
Yeah, they're more of the type that would be slacking off in class.
Yeah.
But aren't they like the quiet types?
I mean,
More than anything, yeah, they're dumbasses, but wouldn't you say they're kind of the quiet type?
I guess.
And you know what they say about the quiet types? When they freak out, be fucking careful. But they also got their talents here and there.
Yeah. Also, the quiet ones also write 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh, that's a messed up book.
I'm gonna read it. I don't care what you say. I'm gonna read it. You two are doing rather great this chapter. The two of them grinned and nodded before resuming their talk. You continued your round. The last desk to be visited being silver spoons and diamond tiaras. They were doing their work in between gossips. Not that you cared or anything. As long as the work gets done and the students understand what they're learning, you really don't care what they do. I think they should have been the types of like they just straight up not do what they're told and just continue gossiping and pretty much if I was the teacher I would pretty much give them detention. I mean, pretty much because I hate them, I guess. So you moved over to the teacher's table at the front of the class to get a drink of water. You unscrewed the cap of the bottle and take a few gulps of water as you scan through the questions on the blackboard. This shouldn't be so hard for the students. They're doing very well. A thought ran through your mind. Scootaloo isn't faring very well this chapter though. You covered the bottle and left it on the table. You head over to Scootaloo's table and notice that she's done a few more questions. You give her the pat on her back and she yelps again. Her wings shoot up and she blushes. Oops. You should watch where you pat ponies there, she cursed. You didn't mean to do that. Sorry about that, Scoots. I just thought you were doing a rather fine job now compared to earlier. Scootaloo shrugged, her wings coming back down. I guess I wasn't really paying attention that much attention just now. This is going to eat up more time than I thought it would. Yeah, just be careful where you I mean, in a lot of the fanfics I read, you have to be careful with the Pegasus wings because they're very sensitive. Okay. You felt bad for Scootaloo, even though she was slower than the other students in this chapter. You still saw potential success in her. There wasn't anything else you could do except either be stricter on her in your teaching or have her stay after class for extra exercises. Hey Scoots, she looked up. If you want to stay after class for extra math, it could help you out in the long run. I'm sure you can get a hang of the chapter quickly. I have no idea if I should. I mean, I want to learn it all, but I'm not really that dedicated. Besides, Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle might have plans after class, and I will most likely be involved. Yeah, another one where they end up covered in tree sap. You think over what 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 was just said. Scootaloo was always hanging out with the rest of her group. You understood that, what she understood was doing a worse job compared to Sweetie Belle and Apple Bloom. You don't want to force Scootaloo to stay for extra classes, but she had to understand the importance of math. The little filly had been slacking off on other chapters, and you felt that she should at least be a little more serious in this one. Well, you're gonna have to decide before the end of the class. I don't want you to see you failing this chapter, Scoots. You you know very well every pony uses math. You walk away. You swear you could have heard him mutter. I doubt I use swear words in my line of work later anyway. You walk to the front of the class and ask if there were any volunteers who want to come up and solve the questions. There were an eager few, including Apple Bloom, Featherweight, and Archer. The class went by quickly, with many of the students coping well, including Scootaloo. You kept an eye on your watch on the class clock. You didn't want to keep the students from enjoying their weekend, so you made sure that you finished on time. Okay, I know that Archer is in the story, but I don't think that both of those stories are like in the same universe. So about 40 minutes after your arrival, the school bell rang, signaling the end of the school day. Before any of the students managed to pack their stuff, you speak out. Now, class, there will be homework for you this weekend. Do exercise 3.5, questions 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's only a few questions. It probably won't take more than 20 minutes if you're good. Consider that a challenge. You snicker. 32 minutes. The class packed up quickly, with most of the students rushing out after saying their thanks to you. You nod at them as they leave, before you proceed to pack your stuff as well. As you prepare to take a sip of water, you feel a nudge at your knee. It was Scootaloo. You set your bottle down. Anything you need, Scootaloo? You ask. I was wondering if I could really stay after class and do more math. Not sure if I'll be using this bit in life, but hey, who knows? You smile. If you don't mind staying after class, we can start with the exercises now. She nods and sits at the front desk closest to the blackboard. You erase your previous questions and rewrite new ones. The questions were basically the same, only difference now was the numbers. After you wrote down the fourth question, you turn around and ask Scootaloo if she has any problems first with the questions. She seemed to be picking up quickly. The questions look the same. Let me give it a shot first. She started scribbling on a blank piece of paper. You grinned and decided to take those delayed gulps of water you wanted to take earlier. You take your time drinking, positive that Scootaloo won't be done by the time you finish. You wonder if the other teachers are still in school at this time of day. It was close to evening now, and you highly doubted that there would be any other pony left in the school at the moment. You set your bottle down and walk over to the desk Scootaloo was sitting at. You inhaled sharply. Scootaloo had completed the questions. That was quick. She was doing really well now. Wow, that was fast. All your answers are correct. You exclaimed. She grinned. I guess it really did look the same with the questions earlier. Maybe you should try something different. You nodded and returned to the blackboard. Erasing all the questions, you determined to give questions a little harder now. You scribbled down 5 questions on the blackboard and turned to face Scootaloo. Let's make this a little more challenging now. There's a time limit of 3 minutes. You think you can do it, Scoots? You snicker. She grinned. Challenge accepted. With that, she starts scribbling again, this time on the other side of the paper. You watched as she wrote down her calculations and quickly got answers for every single one of your questions. You glanced at your watch, noting that she was at the final question, and it wasn't even a single minute yet. When she's finally done with the last question, she set her pencil down with a smack to the desk and grinned in triumph. Unsatisfied, you took her paper and checked every answer. Surprisingly, all the answers were correct. Well done, Scoots. A job well done indeed. You congratulate her. You have never seen the little filly smile so wide before. Come on, give me something harder. That wasn't really that challenging. You didn't seem this confident during my class earlier, you frowned. Scootaloo shrugged. I guess I do things better on my own than around others. Either that or it's just the new school clothes that's been bugging me. This shirt is killing my wings, she groaned. If it strains your wings so much, you can take it off. I mean, after all, it is after school period. I don't really think it would matter that much anyway. You said you were planning to stop speaking once you had finished the first sentence. You had no idea how sexual that sounded until the words had left your mouth. I guess so. Only problem is, it's hard to get this thing off, you know? She says, looking away in another direction. You decided to change the subject quickly. Let's do a couple more questions first. I can get it off of you after that and see if you can do any better than that. Scootaloo nodded and took out another sheet of paper. You head back to the blackboard and erase every question. You wrote down 2 questions, one being the square root, the one being the cube of a number. You hadn't taught the class about cubes of a number, but you wanted to see if Scootaloo can do well. After all, a cube of a number is just multiplied by the initial number, right? Finishing up, you set the chalk down on your desk and glance over at Scootaloo. You may begin. You say with a snicker. You decide to finish off your water before checking on Scootaloo. You dump the bottle in the wastebasket next to your table and wait a few seconds. You strode over to the desk Scootaloo was residing at and get on your knees, watching her count. She was finishing up on the first question and was beginning on the second one. Scootaloo stopped for a moment to think over what should be done in the question. When she realized that you had given her a question not supposed to be given, she frowned. You hid a chuckle and continued watching her. Determined to complete the final question, Scootaloo racked her brains for the best of half a minute before coming up with a solution. You were amazed that some pony, who you thought was slower than the rest, apparently was sharper than most of the knives in the drawer. She completed the cube perfectly. However, she didn't look that convinced when she was correct. She set her pencil down and pushed the paper forward. You knew the second answer was correct, and you go ahead to check the first answer. The first answer was correct as well, and you nod. Scootaloo yelled out a "Yes!" in triumph and sighed. Oh, and before you forget, you get this darn thing off me. She fluttered her wings, signaling towards the shirt. You nod, giving her a pat on the back as well as a "Great job, Scoots." She yelped, face blushing as she said, "Hey, I said watch where you're patting. Wings are sensitive, you know," she pouted. You stopped. This might be a problem. Well then, how am I gonna get the shirt off you if your wings are in the way? She went silent. I guess you're right. Just be careful, she warned. You nodded to proceed to take Scootaloo's shirt off. Her red ribbon was already on her desk, so you didn't worry about that. You undid her collar and slit the shirt off. You could hear the young filly suppress a moan as the shirt finally came off. However, her face was blushing furiously and her wings stood fully erect. You set her shirt down on the desk next to hers. You feeling better now? You asked. She nods, but looks in another direction instead of straight at you. Huh, I guess her wings really are sensitive. I'm ready for another few questions, she manages to say. A musky smell started to walk around, but you pretended not to notice. You didn't want to bring up the topic. You had a good suspicion on where the smell may be emitting from, but you were here to give Scootaloo extra classes. Uh-oh. You erased the blackboard again, this time replacing the previous questions on the square of the number and 2 cube roots. You turned to face Scootaloo, whose face was still blushing and her wings still fully erect. This shouldn't really be that hard, Scoots. Give it a try. Scootaloo flipped her paper over to the clean side and started scribbling. She seemed to be concentrating more this time. You decide to see how sensitive Scootaloo's wings are. You give them a poke. Scootaloo yelped and pouted at you. Hey! I saw those wings are sensitive! Whoops. He chuckled. Sorry, I was just checking to see how sensitive they were. Apparently, they're very sensitive. The musky smell had grown somewhat stronger, and Scootaloo was shifting uncomfortably on her seat. She trembled as she tried to finish her questions. You were starting to get worried. Scoots, is something wrong? You knew you shouldn't have poked her in the wing. You should have known better than to suggest taking her shirt off in the first place. Sure, her wings would be strained, but then she wouldn't have to be this embarrassed and have this interrupt her class. I just don't know. I'm feeling weird now. You didn't know what to say. You just stared at her as she continued to try to solve her question. She was still trembling, and the trembling only got worse. You decided to take action. Scoots, maybe you should. The sentence was interrupted as Scootaloo let go of her pencil and kissed you in the lips. Ooh, no, this is where it gets dirty. You were taken aback by Scootaloo's sudden move, but you didn't want to make things awkward and leave her hanging, so you kissed her back. The kiss didn't last long. You estimated about 3 seconds before Scootaloo broke it. This is one of the things I don't like about the school attire. They tend to make me feel weird when I take them off or put them on. It's like torture. She kisses you again. This one a much shorter kiss before she breaks off again. You know what she was going through now, and you don't think you like where this is going. It was probably against the law to have sex with students when your intent is to teach them after school, but you didn't want to see Scoot suffer. I guess I can understand that, I guess. The musky scent has gotten stronger now to the point where you're starting to feel a little aroused yourself. You know that this should be wrong, but you don't see another way around this. Scootaloo was about to move in for another kiss when you held your hand up. Please, the quicker I end this, the better. I don't like seeing you so tortured. But I have no idea what to do, she stammered. And you shouldn't. You kept in mind that Scootaloo was still a filly, and she was probably new to these kind of feelings. She was probably very innocent, and it would be terrible to carry out the deed at such a young age. Well, I do, but I don't think I'm gonna like it. You said, get up, Scootaloo. She obeyed, her face still blushing furiously. Show me where you're feeling weird now. Scootaloo's face reached a darker shade of red, but she turned around, showing her skirt-covered rear. She lifted her tail, which didn't seem to lift the skirt very much. The hem of Scoot's skirt was wet, and you were sure this is where the musky smell was emitting from. You lift her skirt up, hearing her sharp intake of air as you do so. You decide to loosen her up a bit before you carry on, for the sake of the students. Scootaloo yelped as you ran a finger along her swollen mare hood. She didn't protest as you continued this time with your tongue. She moaned deeply as you tasted her. She had a taste of orange, but not the sour type. You believe it to be the taste of sweet mandarin oranges. Her moans were throaty and deep as you continued slurping away. Oh my. Scoot's wings were flapping wildly as you licked her up. You thrust your tongue into her mare hood, and her moans escalated as your wings beat harder. You decide that this should be enough for now, and proceed to undo your pants. You contemplated taking her skirt off as well, but you didn't want to didn't want to further trouble Scootaloo than you have now. She glanced back as you finally dropped your pants. Now this won't hurt one bit. Just relax. You reassured Scootaloo. She nods and turns to face away from you. She lays her upper body one up on the desk where she was sitting in, fully in your control. You prod her first, noting her moans as you do so. With one swift thrust, you bury your erect member inside of her. Scootaloo gasped and started breathing heavily as she felt your member inside her. Yay, penetration. You withdraw a little, somewhat enjoying the sounds of Scootaloo moaning as you do so, before burying your erection inside her again. The gasp this time was more audible and was more of pleasure, much to your surprise, since you expected it to be pain. You continue at your steady pace, entering and leaving her vagina as she continued moaning and gasping with each thrust. She was leaking juices down her inner thighs as you did your deed, and her breathing was getting heavier. You increase your pace, and you could hear Scootaloo's breathing become heavier and her gasp become more sharp as you continued penetrating her. You could feel her inner walls start to contract and deduce that she was close to an orgasm. You weren't anywhere close to an orgasm yet, but you decided to go with the flow anyway. You increase your speed, feeling the walls contract further before Scootaloo finally lets out a cry of ecstasy as she came. You felt orgasmic juices bathe your member as you continued your thrust. Scootaloo's tongue had lolled out, and she was panting much heavier than before. It was clear that she was tired, but you knew that you couldn't stop until you were done. You thrust harder and faster this time, hearing Scootaloo continue to moan with ecstasy. You felt yourself getting close as you continued ramming her. The table Scootaloo was lying on was starting to shift in place. Not that you minded or anything. Scootaloo reached over to the other table where her shirt was. She brought it over and bit into her shirt, hoping to surprise her moans. You felt her walls start to contract again as you felt yourself coming close to your climax. You thrust as hard as fast as you can, eliciting tiny moans that managed to go through Scootaloo's shirt. Scootaloo came first again, her walls contracting in your member as you finish off with one final thrust. You came, firing all of your seed into her womb with her juices bathed your member and exited out of the floor. I came! You pull out and fire a few more shots of your seed across her pussy as you finally finished. The both of you were panting heavily and the musky scent was at its peak, but the two of you were satisfied. You alright there, Scoots? You managed in between breaths. I think we should call it a weekend. You nodded. You found a spare piece of paper and proceeded to wipe yourself and the mess up. Scootaloo put her shirt back on. There will be still saliva stains on it. No use showing up at home without a shirt. I guess I should really thank you. Maybe having school attire isn't so bad after all. Ugh. This is gonna be a long year. Yay! Author's note. A short fic just to let everyone know I'm not dead yet. It's festive season now, and I don't really have that much time to do shit. Archery will be done as soon as I can get my hands on a computer after the festive holidays, and we'll continue writing up more fics like these soon. Sorry for the long wait. Don't worry, Maple. You're alright. This is comment from Viper9172. Before reading, Pedo Bear. After reading, Pedo Bear. What kind of dreams are you having? Wait. What kind of dreams are biatch? 'Cause you're about to go bananas on the moon. Ah. And that was a comment from Klutzy Bear. Okay. Demon Killar says Celestia would be so proud, and then she would be pissed because she didn't do the job. Good fic. Marie Marksman makes a comment. Why don't you take a seat? And then there's a picture of Chris Hansen. And let's see, CH31NR34K5H0N. I throw your children in my van sometimes. Saying, Ayo, I'm a pedo. Damn. Let's see. Let's see, any more? I love Portal's Z0R. Give me more delicious Philly sex. Pedo Bear seal of approval. Ha! Twinkie Pinky. If you're trying to say I don't know the difference, then you're wrong, and I text instead of putting your I save time by putting your because that is hard to find, and I don't have to waste unnecessary time trying to find it so hard. Find it so it's not really a punctuation error. Wasting my time with your nonsense. Enjoy the rest of the day. And then there's a video of I Just Had Sex by The Lonely Island featuring Akon. TARDIS of Dr. Hoobs. You like ponies, don't you, Squidward? Bronified Mind. Oh, you silly pony. Don't tell. I solemnly swear that your secret is safe. And it shows Rainbow Dash saluting with the American flag on the background from TARDIS of Dr. Hoobs. Well, yeah, that was Attire, everyone. Well, I will say that even though I have a slight interest in Foalcon, and I am no way, shape or form a full-blown pedophile. Well, again, that is a very good story. That was a good story. And now, Lookman3731. I hope you're ready for whenever I got time on my computer. For my next video, I'm gonna be doing Feels Like the First Time. Oh, anyways, I guess I'll be doing like both the prologue and chapter 1, which combined together will be like 8,000 words, and it would probably be my longest video. So, anyways, yeah, that was a really good fic. I mean, this is also a good fic. Archery is a good fic too. You should read that one. I haven't read Savior yet, but I think that one's a good one too. So yeah. So yeah, if you ever want to read the story, then come and check the link. So, all right, I'm Gunner, Gin Rollins 211, signing off. Damn, that was a